Okay, hold on. You're still a living case. Reminds me of a patient I had a few years ago. A guy comes in after a massive car accident, and he's on the verge of herniation, but somehow we saved his life.
Another miracle, courtesy of Dr. Nichols.
Until he comes in for a follow-up and his wife is pissed. Something's wrong. He's eating everything, like the TV remote everything, and he won't stop having sex.
Clue of Busey. Damage to the bilateral medial temporal lobes in the accident.
Textbook case. I gave him a neuro referral, and that was all I could do. No surgery that could fix it.
I want to ask you, because we also have talked about this, just the actor's journey, and I've written recently about the writer's journey and how you deal with that, because our work is part of our identity no matter what we do. But I think writing, for one thing, like I talked about the fact when I wasn't getting paid to write, how do I feel like a writer? How does that get taken away? And I know with actors, you guys, your whole career is going job to job. And even if you're on a hit series, that series still ends eventually. Some shows go on forever. But can you talk about that? Because personally, you have to navigate that. You can, how do you keep up hope, and how do you keep going? Like you talked about, like you're doing one job, but another job comes along, and your mind gets kind of tied at both. Can you talk about that a little bit, and how you manage that for yourself?
Well, absolutely. And your piece really, and this is sort of for those, we talk pretty frequently, but when I read your Substack, most recent Substack, I had to reach out to you because it really spoke to me, because I've really struggled with that, having time off, and like saying it like, oh, time off. I mean, it's a part of every creative person's life, especially mine. And, there have been periods where it's 7 months off, it's 9 months off. And I say off as if I have an idea of when it's going to end. That's the scariest thing, is the uncertainty around, like, okay, well, and the mind starts to go, well, maybe that's it. Maybe I had my run. Maybe I ought to think about something else because I have a family and I need to think about this. Right. And how I've navigated it over the years, one is to stay an actor even when I'm not an actor. What does that mean? Well, I'm talking to actor friends or writer friends or director friends. I'm staying in front of them, not because I have an agenda necessarily, but to stay connected to our sort of creative field, right? Just to remind myself that I'm still a part of this, even if the phone hasn't rung, metaphorically speaking. That's one. And another is, like, I guess faith plays a really big part in it. Just having faith that, well, listen, my number's been called a bunch of times before. It's not luck when it happens 60 or 70 times, like it's not a fluke. Yeah. It's not a fluke if it's maybe a fluke if it happens a few times, but it's definitely not a fluke if I've been doing it for 22 years. So have faith. There's a number of different things I can play, a number of different things I have played. I have friends in this field. Like, it's cool. Just there's times of expansion, times of contraction. And if this is like a contraction period, okay, well, then let me try to be present in my life and what I have here. Another big part of it is, and I dealt with what you wrote about, like I've dealt with anger. I wanted to blame someone else. Like, why? I just came off of this show. Why am I not on another show? I see other actors go from show to show all the time. And it's sometimes, I don't know, it's easy to point to someone else and be like, this is your fault, but the truth of the matter is, there are great actors, some who I cannot believe they think this way, Oscar winners who are convinced that they're never going to work again. And sometimes you just, the next right project for you is on the horizon. It's maybe it's a year off. And so what do? You learn to spend your money in the same way all the time. You don't, just because you're making a lot of money. I know that was something you dealt with. It's easy to get used to living a certain way. But if you can, if save money, try to live off that money for as long as possible, and then also, just keep going. And that's the hardest thing when the self-doubt creeps in. Is just to keep going. I've spent time, Jim, probably as you did, straddling the line between, well, am I in this or am I not in this? Maybe I should, and then I have 1 foot over the line and 1 foot not. And I found that as soon as I put 2 feet on the good side of the line, if you will, on the I'm an actor side of the line, then I can, I don't know. Then I'm like, I feel things are coming to me. Then I think like things are coming to me more, and I'm much more open to that than I am if I'm like, well, I still want to be an actor, but this also looks good. So eliminating like a split attention on 2 different things was also very helpful. And that's like half a dozen things, and none of them were a silver bullet for me, but all of them together helped me feel like, and of course I have a loving wife who's also an actor and gets it, and I have other friends who are actors, and so lean on your network, and there's no shame in being like, well, I got to make some money. So what am I going to do? Well, I got this, I'm doing this side hustle, and I'm working for so-and-so, and I'm picking up hours here. That's part of the creative. God, I'm thinking of Broad City, and there's a scene where Abby is like at an art gallery and she's waiting tables, and she talks to an artist who she just loves. And the artist, and I wish I knew her name, but the artist says something like, there's no shame in finding yourself a flexible service job that allows you to, make money and also take time off of your job to go do this thing that you're really here to do. And it's like, oh man, you're like, there are great actors, great artists, great musicians, great people who think this way. And life sometimes is about, well, how do I make ends meet? And not having any kind of ego around how that happens. So I've learned to just try to be as spherical and not linear as possible. Like, it's not going to look maybe a certain way or be a straight line, but it's okay. I'm still here, and I intend to be here for another 20 or 25 years if we're not all replaced by robots and AI. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah. You said something in there about ego, because I remember that was one thing with me, is taking my ego out of it and not worrying about what other people are thinking and thinking about all that. And it's so funny because you mentioned Greg Berlanti, who I've known for years. And there was a time probably within like 6 months of my 90210 job ending that I ended up taking a job as a cater waiter at because somebody asked me if I'd help out, and I was like, I need to pay the rent. It paid like $500 for a night or something like that.
I've done that so often. Yes.
And it was a great lesson in humility and ego, because it ended up being at I don't remember whose house, but some big producer's house. And this was around the time that Brothers and Sisters, I think, was on, because Greg was there. And I've known Greg personally. So even outside of just work, I've known him just in the gay community and that. So I'm there like serving, and I'm like, okay, I just came off of a TV show, and now here I am waiting tables or, serving food. And I saw Greg, and of course he was so nice and everything. But in my head, I'm like going, oh my God, what must he be thinking? And I'm and later on, I was like, I'm sure he's not thinking anything. He's like, oh, that's Jim. I know Jim. Jim's working, and that's it. But your mind plays tricks on you where you're like, oh no, he's thinking like, oh, Jim's washed up already. He's now waiting tables, and it's like now, and I'm glad I got
that kind of voice.
Yeah.
That kind of voice can be so corrosive.
Yeah, and I remember getting over that pretty quick, because I was like, I can either go down that road, or I can just be like, no, I'm just paying the rent, and I happen to see some people I knew, and it doesn't mean anything. So
exactly. Well, the hardest thing for me is trying to remember what I was about to say, because boy, was it astute. No, man, it was awesome, and now it's long gone. But yeah, I wish if it could come back to me, I would be thrilled. No, I think it's gone.
I'm so excited about what's to come with Brilliant Minds, because I think these last episodes, you feel like the show's really finding its rhythm, and everybody's got stuff to do, and it's great what they're doing with your character and Zach's, and I can't wait to see more. So congrats on that.
Thank you very much, and buckle up, because the back half it's a whole level higher and more exciting, if you can even imagine, than the first half. And that excited us as a cast, that things really in episode 7 especially took a really exciting turn, and everything kind of stepped up, and then we're off like out of a cannon for the last 6. So
I love it. Well, fingers crossed for more to come beyond that, and we'll get through lots of these chats. So all right.
Yeah.
Good to chat with you.
Man. Thanks. Good to see you, man.